Hey, welcome to episode 9 of One More Rep with Coach Walker. I'm your host, Coach Walker, and today we are sticking with our topic of long-term athlete development, and we're going to focus on training age and the importance of exposure. So training age, as we have a simple definition here, training age refers to an athlete's or an individual's exposure to strength and conditioning and the various training modalities that are available to that athlete or just available in the profession, in the field in general. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen one of the posts I have with my son. He's running down, and he's actually running on a curved treadmill. And I just do a quick voiceover talking about chronological age versus training age, how in a lot of cases, training age is going to be more important when it comes to strength and conditioning just in general as he progresses. Now, that doesn't negate the fact that chronological age does play a part, but chronological age just talks about how old he is. And that gives you the starting place to know what's appropriate as you progress and put things in front of you. That doesn't mean that that you limit exposure, because since he was 4 months old, he's been exposed to general movement. At 4 months old, he was able to hold his head up, be able to be stable. So now there are videos that I have in my phone, all over my laptop, where I have him in my hand, moving him from hand to hand, getting him used to movement and just basic stabilization. And for a baby at that age, is going to be core strength. It's 4 months old. He doesn't know anything about anything at that moment that's going on, but me knowing what I know about the body and his development, I know that he's going to benefit from these different things. Is going to put him ahead of the curve as he continues to grow, because without me being able to have a conversation with him like he's a 16-year-old, like, hey, we're doing this movement because of this, and we're going to focus on core stability, things like that, I'm just helping you play. And that's where the piece of exposure comes in. That it doesn't have to be completely structured in this is the warm-up, this is the meat and potatoes of the workout, this is your finisher, this is your cool down. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be exposure to just everyday movement patterns and things that are going to help him just get better, help your athlete, help your child get better. So when we talk about exposure, we talk about it from the aspect, once you actually get into a gym and a training facility, you look at the different things that are available: kettlebells, resistance bands, dumbbells, barbells, curved treadmills, regular treadmills, the different machines that are available, whatever is in that gym. You have to be smart about when you expose your young athlete to those things, because once you get them in a gym, it is up to you as a professional or as the parent who has done the research to know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. You have to know, okay, I am not going to be putting the heaviest weight on the bar, or I'm not going to be having them using the bar at all, because it might not be appropriate for them at a very young age, because you want to make sure they just get a taste of what's going on and what they're going to be exposed to, or what's to come later on down the line. When you think about them being exposed to the different things in the weight room, and obviously safety first, and trying to prevent injury and keep them safe from getting hurt in any capacity, you think about what's going to be beneficial and teaching them how to squat, lunge, hip hinge, all those things, jump, land properly. All those things are going to be your basic foundation. And when you're dealing with a kid that's very young, probably under 10 years old, squatting and lunging are natural and second nature to them. So you really don't have to teach or mess with their mechanics, because ATG is going to be a real thing for them, and they're going that posture, whether we want to agree with it or not, it is natural. Is being able to sit in a squat position and rise from it is a very natural thing. We lose that ability when we are constantly sitting in chairs as adolescents, going into teenage years, and then finally as adults, when a lot of our jobs and a lot of the things that we do have us sitting in these unnatural positions all the time. And then we all learn that squatting to 90 degrees is what we all need, is is the standard, when realistically you need to squat a little. You can squatting deeper under lighter loads could be a lot more beneficial and keep a lot more people healthier for a lot longer. So keeping with the exposure being key, you have to realize that it's not just one style of training, not one way to train, not one way to move, because things as simple as running, jumping, and playing jumping rope, doing a jumping jack, those are things that people are not normally exposed to. Because for me, even just thinking about physical education, PE class, those were normal things. Doing a jumping jack, doing a push-up, climbing a rope, hopping over a bar like you would hop over a fence, running back and forth, all these basic things that I take as basic things. When I've encountered many adults over the years, jumping rope is not a universal thing, whether it be man or woman. It's not a universal thing. What was a jumping jack? That can be not universal based upon cultures, because I've met people from different cultures. I've trained people from many different walks of life, many different cultures, ethnicities, all these different things, and you just know that the exposure is just different. It just is what it is. And so that from a training standpoint, and from an exposure and training age standpoint, people who can be 30, 40 years old and never have done a proper jumping jack, so their training age and exposure age based upon that is 0. So you have to reteach those basic things, or you can readjust your training to go to things that they're stronger in. But you have to realize that even for basic movements, training age can be 0, but then for complicated movements, more complex movements, the training age can be 10 years old, 12 years old, however long they've been in the gym, however long they've been training. They can be more advanced and more complex movements, because that's the kind of training they've been exposed to. So you have to be cognizant as a coach, as a strength and conditioning professional, of what people have been exposed to, and be able to adjust your training to make sure that people are being progressed and being exposed in the right manner. Because just because you have an adult in front of you doesn't mean that they've been in the gym. It doesn't mean that they've been someone who's been outside playing. Prime example is I worked for the military, the U.S. Army, for about 2.5 years. When I first was getting into this field. So when officially getting into this field, I should say. And this story always sticks out to me. I've told the story a million times, and I'll tell it here again. I had a soldier brought to me in AIT, Advanced Individual Training, and he was on his last PT test, his last shot before they would kick him out. And his first sergeant came, and his platoon sergeant came to us and saying, "Need this guy to pass. Great guy. We need him in the Army. He is top notch. We just need him." But the thing about it was, he couldn't run. He was 22 years old, had never really run in his life, which for me that didn't compute, because growing up all we did was run football, basketball, kickball, relay races. If it was outside, if it was sport, we were doing it. And so myself and the athletic trainer that I was partnering with, and then we also brought in another strength and conditioning coach from one of the other AOs, area operations, down to come do an evaluation. And we might have had a physical therapy tech on site, and we all just kind of had him outside. We had him run back and forth a little bit, watch his gait, watch how he moved, all these different things, and we saw that he was just a severe overpronator. My battle buddy Mike at the time, he's an athletic trainer, one of the best I've ever seen. Him and another guy that I know, we got together and said, okay, we're going to tape his ankles. I'll get out there and pace him out the way I normally did, paced everybody else out, all other soldiers I work with, and we'll get him passed, because he had to pass in 16:36. Now the thing about it, again, he's from Hawaii. Matter of fact, side note, he's from Hawaii, which I've never been, but you see that it is a lot of open space. You can go outside and play. So again, this kid, he's in the Army. He's new to running, so his training age is relatively low because he had never really run. And I guess maybe it's not so specifically, he hasn't gone outside to play running, but he had never run for a time distance. So, other part of the story, after we had the meeting, I did the evaluation. Battle Buddy didn't feel comfortable taping him because the kid had never been taped before, and there's all these what ifs. Once the kid said he wanted to get taped, and so we taped him, got him through the test or whatever, got up there, paced him out. 16:36 was the time he needed or he would fail. We crossed the line at 16:36. Kid sprained his ankle. A week later, got put on profile, but he was in the Army. But that lack of exposure to running put his training age lower, so we had to do some things to manipulate the system or manipulate the training factors to make sure that we got him up to speed and just put him in a position to where he could be where he needed to be and actually eventually develop that training age. This was like maybe 10 years ago now at this point, so hopefully he's a much better runner for time and distance at this point in time, since he hopefully is still in the Army, still doing well. But that training age is key, because if you expose your kid early, it makes things easier later, because I watch my son move versus a lot of other kids, and it's different. And it's not something like I make him do these things. He comes to the gym with me. He does a lot of different things. Climbing is his thing. He'll jump off of things. We do the box jumps and all those types of things. We do medicine ball carries. We do sled pushes, everything like that. That's just exposing him to the basics of training. We do a lot of different things. Has he touched the barbell? Yes, but his primary modalities are body weight movements, box jumps. We do some things with bands, medicine balls, the things I would do with your kid at that age or even a little bit older, because a lot of my younger athletes, we barely use a barbell. Because what's the point? Well, there is a point, but we can achieve a lot more because we do a lot of unilateral training. But in the end game of all of this, you want to make sure that your kid, your athletes, your students, they are exposed to as much as they can be early on, because it's going to make them better later on. And as they grow into adulthood, they will have a solid foundation that they can feel confident and comfortable if they decide to be a weekend warrior, if they're participating in flag football leagues, basketball leagues, whatever it looks like. If they decide to run a 5K, 10K, marathon, they have the foundation to build upon, so they don't feel lost once they get out there, whether they start training on their own, they hire a professional, if they join a gym and they're working with a personal trainer, if they come train at a facility that is specifically for strength and conditioning, if they decide to go the CrossFit route, they have a foundation and they are not starting from ground zero, and they don't feel lost in the sauce once they get out there. So make sure that you're exposing your kid to a lot. If they train with me, which is great, but I'm not everywhere. So if you're not where I'm at, then that might not be a logical solution. But you want to make sure that they train with someone who cares enough to actually learn. They've done the research, they've done the grunt work and the groundwork and the work to learn to know what's practical and what's logical and what's smart for young kids versus kids that are a little bit older. But also you can compare the two, chronological age versus training age, and find out where that middle ground is. Sometimes you do have to start from ground zero, but sometimes a kid can come in and they can be smarter. They're smart enough and adept enough to where they can pick up pretty fast, and you can progress them a lot faster than somebody else that just isn't up to speed. So it isn't always one or the other, it's a mix of the two. So just be smart about that and make sure that the person who you trust with training your kids knows that. Yeah. So remember to expose your kids to training early and often, whether you're just going outside to play at the playground, throwing the football around with them. If you are someone who is into fitness and you're working out on your own, Bring your kid into the gym with you, especially if you have a home gym. Bring them into the garage or whatever. Go out there and let them lift with you. Do some small things. You don't have to give them the heaviest dumbbell. Give them a 3-pound dumbbell, show them some basic things that they can do with you. If you go out running, let them go out running with you for a while. Like if you know you're gonna do, that they're fresh and new to it, let them do the first quarter mile and then take them back in and then finish the run. If they're up to it, let them do a mile with you and then take them back in the house. That's how I started my son out. And you'll see that they learn to push themselves, because at that age, at a young age, they don't know it's supposed to be. They don't know that this is supposed to be hard. They're just moving. And that's the other piece with the exposure. You teach your kid that to just work. My son, again, when I pick him up from school, if we have time to walk, he'll run up the hill, run down the hill, and it's some pretty decent hills. And he runs it like it's nothing, because it's never been put in his head, oh, this is supposed to be hard. So that's the other piece. You will build a very confident young man or young woman, a young child that's going to be able to tackle the task, because they're not expecting it. They're not thinking about, oh, this is too hard. They're thinking about, let's do it. Like, this is what I do. All right, so maximize, improve, excel. Train like you mean it. Train like you mean it. This has been Coach Walker. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.